If I was to tell you that I knew some famous actor or singer or athlete, you might have, some very common questions for me. You might say, well, how did you meet him and how long have you known him? And then once you've found out that, yeah, I really do know that person, then you might ask the question, what are they really like? Come on, what are they really like? As we see, that's what I did back in March when on my vacation we were in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and we had tea with two priests who were priests under Pope Francis when he was the Archbishop of Buenos Aires. So I just wanted to make sure, okay, how did you know him? And, we knew him when he was a seminary teacher and then as the Archbishop. Okay, what is he really like? That's kind of our common human questions. So I think for all of us gathered here today, the understanding would be that you and I are friends of Jesus. And so somebody else could say to us, how long have you known him? And then the next question would be, and what is he really like? What is your relationship like with Jesus? What is he like? I think today's gospel gives you and me some answers to that question of what is he really like? He starts out that second part of today's gospel by inviting, come to me, all you who are weary and heavily burdened, and I'll give you rest. So who are his friends? Who is he inviting to be close to him? Those who are weary, burdened. I don't think Jesus was just talking about physical laborers. Okay, he's really a friend of the people who do really, really hard work. And so he calls them together at night and invites them to have a beer with him, just relax together. Yeah, I think it's more the emotional, psychological, those kind of folks who are weary, burdened. Not the normal kind of folks we usually kind of associate ourselves with. I really want to associate with people who are really down, and even life itself is really burdened. That's like a great group to go out drinking with. We're going to have a wonderful time. They're all kind of sad and depressed. But that's who Jesus chooses, that group. Because he can bring something to them that they truly need, that nobody else can bring to them. Because he can set them free of those things that burden them, make them weary. For a lot of times, the struggles in life are things that only God can free us of. Sometimes it's shame, guilt, a broken past of some kind. And then only God can free us of that. Even years ago when I was taking the Master's in Counseling program at UNO, I was just doing it, I don't know why, for fun or something. But oftentimes sitting in the class, the professor would call on me, well, you're the one doing all this already. Yeah, maybe a little more experience than even the professor had in actually dealing with people. How would you deal with this problem? What are you seeing as the main thing here? And oftentimes it's just simply setting somebody free of their shame, of their guilt. So he provides then to that group, this Jesus of ours, rest. Do you often say that when people ask you about your friend Jesus? Oh, he gives me rest. Really? Is that how we describe him? As somebody who gives us rest? It's not what we put in the bulletin real regularly. Take the week off. Rest. Jesus wants to bring you rest this week. Don't be so caught up in so much of life. Just rest. But it is what God intended for us. If we go back to the very beginning, to that story in Genesis, Adam and Eve were created on which day? The sixth day. And then what did God do on the seventh day? Rested. So the very first full day of Adam and Eve's existence is the day of rest. Okay, rest. I was just made. Yeah, rest. Because that's God's intent for us. Not so much in the sense of slumber, but in who we are created to be. That rest is the fullness of our life, just enjoying all the wonder and beauty that God gives us. We weren't created to just be slaves, servants, struggling away, but to enjoy this wondrous life that God gives. Now here's something that the rabbis debated over the many years then, without a real clear answer, but on what day did Adam and Eve sin then? Was it actually on the day of rest? And then because of the sin, life is burdened. But prior to that, it was a garden with everything provided. He goes on to describe himself: meek, humble of heart. Meek not so much in weakness, but meek as being comfortable in your own skin, as being focused on what's important. Chariot horses were described as meek. Moses is described as meek of leading the people out of Egypt. The meekest man was Moses. Meek is just somebody who knows what's important, is comfortable in themselves. Somebody you like being with, because they're not putting on a show. They just are who they are. They know what they're about. And then this friend of ours offers to pick up most of our work, which is a lovely thing, because he tells us to take on his yoke, which really means he bears it with us. Take that yoke on. He's the guy who takes care of all my problems, even before they happen. I don't even know about most of them, because Jesus is already taking care of them, taking the challenges away, because he's bearing most of the weight to the yoke. So it's just already fixed, already easy, already light, so that life isn't burdened, but easy and light, because he's my friend. Because he's the one who takes care of the things, not me. I don't have to worry about him at all. He's somebody I'd probably want to be friends with, right? Somebody who's offering me those kind of things, taking away my burdens, giving me peace, light, ease of life. But most amazingly today, in that first part, he reveals that this friend of ours is more than we could ever imagine, and that he's only sharing himself with those that he wants to. And when he shares himself, he also shares that the God of the universe is just like this. That if you get to know him, you get to know the incredible creator of it all. Somebody who you'd want to be friends with.